I'm heading home from my road trip and just stopped real quick to take a break and thought this would be a good time for a conversation. In recent videos, I've talked a little bit about living in the moment and also about facing life's challenges. And it's just something that's been on my mind while I've been driving today is the phases of life that we go through. Life is very much about cycles. When we're going through certain phases, we would really like to slow time down, and sometimes we would really like to speed time up. It's really kind of human nature to want instant results, whether it be about, making money or weight loss or changing your life or stopping a bad habit or starting a new habit. It's tough stuff. And we all deal with it, on some level, with some topic or with some issue or what have you. We all deal with this thing. But the thing that's really been on my mind lately, talking about facing the challenges that life throws at us and really trying to hone in and live in the moment and practice gratitude and be grounded in the moment instead of in what's coming up or, what's in the future. Not to say that you shouldn't do planning and that you shouldn't, constantly be moving forward, because you should, but it really takes some mental power to live in the moment, no matter what that moment is, even if it's a really challenging moment. So today I just wanted to talk about going with the flow. Life has its own flow, and you'll notice that no matter what your plans are, no matter what you're working on, or no matter what you're in the process of doing, sometimes you'll get sidetracked or roadblocked or derailed. Other times something great will fall in your lap, something totally unexpected that you hadn't planned for, but that it's good. And so there's positives and there's negatives and there's all these different variables. Now, the one thing, is that you want to be creating your life at all times. So you don't want your life to be creating you. Basically, if you're not in control, if you're not in the driver's seat, then life is. It's one or the other. So you definitely want to be in the driver's seat, making decisions, making deliberate choices, taking specific actions at all times, directing your life in the direction that you want it to go or that you feel led to go. But then there again, it comes back to going with the flow, because we want things to happen immediately, or we want something to hurry up and happen, or, we want to get to that next phase. But the fact is, it's a process, and the process has its place in the entire cycle. And so, let's take, for example, what it took me to get from my late 20s to my late 30s, that entire decade. I think sometimes to myself, my goodness, that was pointless. I mean, could we not have, fast forwarded through some of that stuff? But the point really is that we couldn't, because I needed to go through those things in order to learn the lessons, in order to have the personal growth experience, so that I would be prepared to be where I am now versus where I was then. Because if I think back 10 years ago, the woman that I was in my late 20s was in no way prepared to be in my shoes now, 10 years later. So that decade and everything that it contained was a necessary part of the process to condition me, to educate me, to enlighten me, to prepare me basically to be where I wanted to be. So not every process, of course, is a decade long. Some things, are just a few weeks. Some things are a few days. Some things are months. Some things are years. But the point that I really wanted to make is about going with the flow, about getting into the flow, about accepting all of the challenges for what they are, like we talked about in my last video, about living in the moment and really appreciating exactly where you are while you know exactly where you're going at the same time. And understanding that while we get anxious or we get nervous or we get impatient, really it's the process that is so important to the end result that we really desire. You hear stories about people who come into a windfall, whether it be an inheritance or winning the lottery or something like that. And a lot of times we hear really negative stories about how it impacted their life and how it turned their life upside down and even how it ruined their life. On the flip side, you hear stories of people who went from rags to riches, so to speak, that really busted their butt and made something, out of a career, sometimes a career out of nothing or what have you. And the point is that you have two completely separate end results. Someone who is handed, $1 million versus someone who goes from broke to $1 million on their own, even if it takes them a decade to do it. The result is completely different. The conditioning that happens when you make the decisions and when you take the actions and when you put in the work and you evolve as a person or as an individual through the process, the end result is completely different. Number one, you're more mature spiritually, physically, mentally, what have you, and educated and prepared to deal with the challenge of managing a whole different lifestyle on a whole different level. That's just one example. Another example, let's take weight loss. Let's say that you want to lose 50 pounds and you win the weight loss lottery. And so you automatically wake up 50 pounds lighter tomorrow instead of $50 million richer. I don't know, which would you rather have? Don't answer that. Anyway, the point is, it would not change you. You would put the 50 pounds back on in a matter of time because you didn't change your habits. You didn't go through the process of changing as an individual that it took to achieve those results. So my end message today, really, through all this rambling, is embrace the process. Forget anxious or impatient or all those other things. It's human nature. It's kind of built in or whatever. Drop it and embrace the process and let it do its magic. Let it do its work on you so that when you do reach your goal, whatever that goal happens to be, whether it's the struggle of quitting smoking, whether it's, starting to work out every day, whether it's losing weight or, making money or starting a business or anything really. I mean, there's probably a reason why it takes, 9 months of pregnancy, before you have a baby. It's kind of a good bit of time, to get you prepared for that whole life-changing event. Anyway, embrace the process. Embrace the time that it takes. I look back over my life and I look at how dramatically it's changed, how dramatically I changed it intentionally. And I think that a decade and the time that I put in and the things that I went through, it was all so worth it. Everything great that I have achieved, that I achieved intentionally, has been well worth the time spent, the energy invested, because the results are mine and they belong to me and I'm in a position to enjoy them. And that's really the point. If something just drops in your lap like a windfall, it's more of a disruption. But if you take the time and you go through the process to create something, to create a change in your life, not something that just drops in your lap automatically, then you are prepared for it, and it's not a disruption. It's something that's anticipated and expected and appreciated, which is really the key. Yeah, I think, through all of these discussions, gratitude really is the bottom line. So love where you are, know where you're going, and embrace the process of getting from here to there.